We were just chilling in front of the television, idly watching the colorful images without thinking too much about its actual content. That had always been our usual routine, to get home, not speak, and just turn our brains off for the evening. But on that night in particular, all of our phones went off within 15 seconds of each other. We all jumped to attention in confusion, checking our phones simultaneously. All it had been was a simple message, but one carrying a crystal clear meaning. Emergency alert. This is a message to the citizens of Newport. Do not leave your homes. Stay inside. Do not open the doors to anyone, not even your own family or friends. This is not a test. Stay inside. Turn off the lights. Our minds raced, but none of us were able to speak a single word. I looked over at my dad, who had put on his glasses to make sure that he read the message correctly. My mother seemed worried, her eyes filled to the brim with panic. "What is this?" my dad finally asked. While the message was clear, it didn't really explain the situation. It was the first and only emergency alert we ever received in our small town, apart from the occasional text message. It was real. Something dangerous was on its way, and we didn't have the faintest idea of what it actually was. I went over to the window, only to see each and every one of our neighbors begin to turn their lights off. Within a couple of minutes, the entire neighborhood had turned dark, leaving us confused in a haze of ignorance. "I'm calling the police," Dad said as he dialed the number. It started to ring, and Dad put the phone on speaker, but instead of a person picking up, he just received an automated message. "We're receiving heavy call volumes at this time. Please do not hang up. You will be redirected to one of our dispatchers shortly." "What's going on?" Mom asked. "I don't know. This is," Dad said before trailing off. I still stood by the window, watching the empty neighborhood, wondering if anyone would defy the message and go outside. In the meantime, Dad was trying to call the police again. After the third attempt, he tried to reach his coworker instead, who lived further downtown. "Hey, David, did you get the same message as us?" Dad asked. "Yeah, it's bizarre. Most people are staying inside, though. I mean, if you went out into the streets to mess around, freaking idiots. They seem fine, but I don't know. Wait, what's that?" Dad waited patiently as David went silent on the other end of the line. "I think it's the military is out on the street, but they look odd. They're all wearing gas masks, but the masks have like 3 eyes. I don't even know what kind of weapons they're carrying. Could you take a picture and send it to us?" "I'll try. Hold on." A few seconds passed, and another beep could be heard from Dad's phone, signifying that we'd received a picture. My dad quickly opened it, but what greeted us was little more than a tangled mess of colors from a clearly corrupt photograph. "David, the picture isn't showing up. Try again." "Yeah, it doesn't work. The camera just won't save pictures correctly." A loud screech could be heard over the line, shoving us all to the ground as we held our hands tightly over our ears. Though it came from the phone, it was an impossible sound that should have blown the speakers to smithereens in a second. Once the sound had subsided, we could still hear someone frantically breathing on the other end. "David, what happened?" They killed them all. They shot them with these weapons and they just shredded them to pieces. All that is," he stuttered. "David, you need to hide," Dad yelled. "But they're just standing there. It's like they're frozen in place. I don't understand. Why are they doing this? Why are they..." His words froze in his throat. Oh my God. They saw me. They're coming towards me. They're..." The line fell dead. But Dad tried to call David back up, but no one responded. Our house fell dead silent, only interrupted by the intermittent beats produced by the calling phone. My mom wandered nervously around the house, and I just stared out the window, paranoid that something might break through the door. "He's gone. For God's sake. David, pick up the phone," Dad mumbled to himself. That's when I saw them, walking down the street. They weren't moving normally, and their steps were too quick, each movement snapping into place. They were wearing strange uniforms that might have looked like military uniforms in the dark, but once they got closer, it was clear that they weren't even human. One of the neighbors' doors shot open, and the Johnsons came running towards the military, thinking that they were finally safe. But no sooner had they been spotted by the marching creatures before they lifted their weapons. The same screech filled the neighborhood, almost knocking me to the ground as the air literally started to vibrate. The family screamed in agony, but only for a moment, because within seconds, their bodies just started disintegrating until all that was left was a pile of flesh resembling minced meat. I wanted to scream, but before I had the chance, my dad put his hand over my mouth. "Do you want to die? Keep your mouth shut," he whispered. But just the mere sound briefly turned the creature's attention in our direction. But once we fell silent, they just stopped. There they stood, as if frozen in time. For minutes, all we could do was stare at them in shock. Then one of the neighbor's automatic lights turned on, triggered by a cat running home. The same second, all the creatures turned to the house, raised their weapons, and started firing. As loud sounds rang out throughout the house in the neighborhood, my dad grabbed me and my mom. We took the opportunity to flee to the basement, where we all prayed that we might be at least safe for a while. We never even saw what happened to the neighbor's house. We just heard the screams of agony as they all fell to pieces. Now we're just hiding down here, without food, without water. We tried calling for help, but no one's picking up. Either everyone's dead, or the rest of the world has been left in the dark about what's currently happening in our city. I don't understand why no one's come to help us. Maybe they think we're already dead. So I'm sending this, a hopeless call for help. If anyone out there receives this, please help us.